Hello everyone, and welcome to Wordy Tales. Today, we're going to explore a story about the dangers of making decisions in anger and the power of calm thinking when we're facing challenges. As we listen to this story, we'll also learn new words and practice making sentences with them. This will help us improve our English in a fun and easy way. So stay with us until the very end.
Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there lived a young king named David. He had just inherited the throne at the age of 25 after the passing of his father. Growing up, David was guided by a wise teacher named Edward, who taught him not only about the world, but also about the values of kindness, patience, and wisdom. After the king's death, Edward became David's closest advisor, helping him face the many challenges of ruling a kingdom. He now served as chief minister and as David's most trusted counselor.
For a while, everything in the kingdom went smoothly. But then, one year, an unexpected food crisis struck, caused by a mistake Edward had made in the weather forecast. In his frustration and anger, David, without thinking twice, ordered Edward, his own mentor, to leave the kingdom and never return. With a heavy heart, Edward quietly obeyed. He left the palace and the life he had known behind to start anew. Settling in a distant village, he chose the life of a humble farmer. Though he still had wealth, Edward preferred simplicity. He worked with the villagers, shared in their struggles, and soon earned their respect. They began to seek his advice, not only for farming, but also for solving disputes. Meanwhile, back in the kingdom, David was struggling. He missed Edward's wisdom, especially as he faced complex decisions on his own. Gradually, David realized his mistake. Banishing Edward in a moment of anger had been foolish. Regret weighed heavily on him, and so he sent soldiers to search for Edward and bring him back. But days turned into weeks, and there was no sign of him. The kingdom was vast, and no one seemed to know where Edward had gone.
Then David had an idea, one inspired by the clever methods Edward once taught him. He ordered his soldiers to deliver a letter and a clay jar to the head of every village. The letter instructed each village leader to return the jar filled with wisdom within 1 month. If they failed, they would instead have to fill it with precious jewels.
The jar and the letter reached the village where Edward now lived. The village leader, confused by the strange request, quickly went to Edward for advice. Wisdom can't be put into a jar, Edward thought, and he also knew the village did not have enough jewels to replace it. The villagers grew worried, afraid they might be punished. Turning to Edward with anxious faces, they pleaded, "Please help us. You are the only one who can solve this." Edward sat calmly among them and reassured them. "Hand me the jar," he said. "I will make sure it is filled with wisdom by the end of the month." When asked how, Edward simply smiled. "I don't know yet," he replied, "but with time I am certain a solution will come." The villagers trusted Edward and left the jar with him, hopeful he would find an answer.
One day,
While working on his farm, Edward noticed a small pumpkin vine growing nearby. An idea sparked in his mind. Carefully, he placed a tiny pumpkin inside the jar without cutting it from the vine. Day after day, he watered it. Slowly, the pumpkin grew larger until it filled the entire jar, unable to be removed. Finally, Edward cut the vine, leaving the jar with a fully grown pumpkin inside. He sent it back to the king, just as the request had asked.
When King David received the jar, he was astonished. Seeing the giant pumpkin inside, he smiled and said, "Growing a pumpkin like this inside a jar is the work of a truly wise mind." At once, he realized that this clever solution could only belong to Edward. Without hesitation, David prepared to set out personally, to find Edward, to apologize, and to bring him back to the kingdom.
And so, dear friends, the lesson is clear. Do not make decisions in the heat of anger. Strong emotions can cloud your judgment and lead to regret. Instead, take a moment to calm yourself before solving a problem. A peaceful mind gives rise to clear thinking, helping you find the best path forward. Remember, true wisdom often comes from patience and understanding. Today, through this story, we also learned new words and practiced making sentences. Always remember, learning English can be fun when you practice regularly. So keep listening, keep learning, and keep growing. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.